We've explored life in many different countries together. Some places spark curiosity and excitement, while others might leave less of an impression. So what do you think is the most livable capital city in the world? And what qualities should an ideal capital have? Now let's turn our attention to Moscow, the capital of the largest country on the planet, and take a more well-rounded look at Russia. Russia is a vast nation, covering about 17 million square kilometers. Moscow is considered the heart of this immense country, located slightly east of Belarus and directly north of Ukraine. It isn't situated in the harsh frozen regions like Siberia up north, but rather in the milder western part of the country. Winters in Moscow are considerably more moderate compared to the 50°C chills of northern Russia, with average temperatures around 20°C, still bitterly cold nonetheless. Interestingly, nearly half of the world's capital cities have a coastline, but Moscow does not. The city is built around the Moscow River, a peaceful, year-round retreat for locals, whether it's winter or summer. The river flows through the heart of the city with many small bridges connecting various areas. The presence of rivers also indicates that Moscow sits on a vast plain. On the map, Moscow isn't an especially large city, just about 2,511 km², but it is Russia's most populous, home to around 19 million residents. By contrast, the nearest major city, St. Petersburg, has only about 6 million people. Remarkably, Moscow has served as the capital for over 850 years. To accommodate such a dense population within a limited area, the city is filled with towering skyscrapers. There are hundreds of high-rises here, and rental prices are notoriously high. In Moscow, a higher quality than average apartment typically starts at around 80,000 rubles, equivalent to at least $800 for a 3-bedroom unit. If you're thinking about living in Russia, especially in Moscow, which attracts billionaires from around the globe, your monthly living expenses will need to be at least $2,000. Of course, cheaper options exist, around 50,000 rubles a month, but those are usually 20-year-old, outdated apartments located far from the city center or with very limited space. Despite its long history, Moscow offers a modern, vibrant, and convenient lifestyle. On the streets, you'll often see groups of friends hanging out. Rarely will you see anyone walking alone. One unique feature of the city center is the abundance of professional photographers taking portraits of stylish pedestrians. These photographers make a living capturing moments for well-dressed individuals, creating souvenirs for their clients while earning their own income. Some photographers even go all out, choosing prime locations and setting up elaborate backdrops to create high-end artistic photos. However, you don't need to be fancy. Any street corner, park, or architectural backdrop in Moscow can turn into the perfect photo background. The city's architecture is heavily influenced by Western European styles, classic yet modern, leaving visitors in awe. Many believe that Moscow comes close to fulfilling every expectation of an ideal capital city. At the heart of the city lies the famous Kremlin Palace, one of the most iconic symbols of Russia. Almost everyone visiting the country makes sure to snap a photo in front of the Kremlin, which is currently the official workplace of President Putin and the seat of the country's highest executive and administrative bodies. The city also houses many wealthy oligarchs, and it's not uncommon to see luxury cars with sirens causing traffic jams during rush hour. It's worth noting that many Russian cities have Kremlins, but the most famous one is in Red Square. This square is known for its spotless, stone-paved roads and draws crowds of tourists every day. The architecture here is stunning, leaving no one unimpressed. Red Square is so spacious that it can hold millions during major national events, like presidential speeches or public celebrations. Another iconic structure in Moscow is St. Basil's Cathedral, located right on Red Square and one of the most famous buildings in the city. Today, international tourism at Red Square isn't as bustling as it used to be, mostly due to strained diplomatic ties between Russia and the West, leading many Western airlines to reduce or cancel flights to Russia. However, thanks to its large domestic population and abundant resources, Russia doesn't rely heavily on the outside world, so Moscow has never fallen into emptiness. The clearest evidence of Moscow's vibrant life is the colorful festivals that frequently take place. If you're lucky, you might witness one during your visit, something locals may be used to, but tourists find absolutely captivating. While most of the world may be enjoying summer, in Moscow you'll find people strolling around in t-shirts, enjoying the streets. The city is buzzing not only during the day but also comes alive at night. Looking for a place to eat? You'll have hundreds of restaurants to choose from. Tired of your usual park or bar? Dozens of new spots await your discovery. Love meeting new people? Moscow has all kinds, from classic to trendy, from sweet to edgy, making it a colorful and captivating city. However, to live comfortably here, you'll need a stable income, ideally between $4,000 to $5,000 a month, if you don't want the lavish lifestyle to swallow you whole. If you find Moscow too pricey, consider moving to Vladimir, just east of the capital. Or go a bit farther to Kazan, the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan, a young and vibrant city. You might also consider St. Petersburg in the north, closer to the Finnish border, with fewer people but still highly developed. People here live with energy and passion, much like in the West. That same energy has created opportunities for street musicians. In the evenings, as you wander through Moscow's corners, you'll hear violins, flutes, music that feels like a soundtrack to a romantic sunset. The sidewalks are always bustling. Sometimes you can't even find a seat. Even without entering a cafe, people gather in parks or sit along the roads with friends and family. However, you'll notice something. People over 65 are rarely seen on the streets. Most folks out and about are under 50, while seniors mostly use the metro. Speaking of which, Moscow's metro system is one of the largest and most beautiful in the world. It has over 160 stations across 11 lines. Clean, modern, and elegantly designed, reflecting the distinct Soviet-era aesthetics. Moscow doesn't just attract adults, it's a hotspot for young people from all over Russia. That's no surprise considering many of the country's top technical universities are located here. The city currently hosts 13 universities, making it a gathering point for all generations. Russians often have their phones out, snapping selfies, not just to capture moments, but to express their identity. When you look at the faces of locals, you'll easily spot the Slavic features. Fair skin, blonde hair, blue or green eyes, a beauty that captivates the world, and they seem to be aware of it, displaying confidence in their walk and talk. They dress fashionably, not just for nights out, but even during the day, whether just hanging out with friends or running errands. Although Russia is an Orthodox Christian country, there are no strict dress codes or lifestyle rules. Everyone is free to express themselves. And if you want to see how wealthy Moscow really is, just wait until evening. That's when the luxury cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Mercedes start appearing everywhere. Streets like Malaya Bronnaya and Petrovka are playgrounds for the ultra-rich, lined with the most expensive shopping malls and exotic cars. At night, this area becomes more alive than ever. Moscow is an international and multicultural city, making communication relatively easy. Even if you don't speak Russian, many places offer English support. This diversity is also reflected in its food scene. You can find dishes from all over the world. Plus, newlywed couples often choose Moscow as their wedding destination. They're commonly seen taking photos by the Moscow River with friends and family, creating uniquely simple yet heartfelt wedding moments. Despite political challenges in Russia, Moscow continues to maintain a vibrant and safe atmosphere. The city remains one of the most attractive and livable capitals in the world. The people of Moscow seem very satisfied with their lives, showing no signs of fear or restriction. You've probably heard of standout cities alongside a country's capital. For example, Italy has Naples next to Rome, the UK has Manchester beside London, Spain has both Madrid and Barcelona, and in Russia, that second star alongside Moscow is none other than St. Petersburg. Located in northwestern Russia, St. Petersburg covers an area of 1,449 km² and has a population of around 6 million, making it the fourth most populous city in Europe. Moscow ranks second with around 12 million people. Currently, the most populous city in Europe is Istanbul, with over 18 million residents. Many Russians even prefer St. Petersburg over Moscow, mainly because of its geographic advantages. St. Petersburg is Russia's largest city close to Europe, situated just south of Finland and only a short distance from Baltic countries like Estonia. Residents with proper documentation can easily travel to European countries, allowing them to enjoy a lifestyle that bridges Russia and the West. Another major advantage St. Petersburg has over Moscow is its access to the sea, something Moscow only has through a river. At the western edge of St. Petersburg lies the Gulf of Finland, a branch of the Baltic Sea, giving the city valuable maritime resources. It's undeniable that being near the sea plays a huge role in a city's appeal. The sea provides countless recreational opportunities. Residents of St. Petersburg can swim at local beaches, something Muscovites can't do. In the evenings after work, families often stroll along the shore to enjoy the fresh air, a perfect way to unwind after a long day. If summers here were longer, St. Petersburg could easily become a top vacation destination, not just in Russia, but globally. However, summer is usually short, and the weather quickly turns cool. The city not only borders the sea, but is also home to the Neva River, originating from Lake Loga to the east, flowing through the city, and splitting into 3 branches before emptying into the Gulf of Finland. As a result, the western part of St. Petersburg is made up of many islands, each with its own name, like New Holland Island, which sounds a bit like New York. St. Petersburg served as the capital of Russia for 200 years during the Tsarist era. Founded by Peter the Great in the early 1700s, the city was once just a swamp. After traveling across Europe, Peter was inspired by Venice and dreamed of building a model European-style city, a gateway for Russia to the world. He invested heavily to realize this dream. The city's first university was established in 1724, and today there are over 40 universities in Berlin. Petersburg remains a major educational hub, attracting students from across the country, with its technical and engineering schools competing directly with those in Moscow. The most prestigious and oldest is St. Petersburg State University. If you're a fan of World War II history, you may recognize the name Leningrad. The city endured a 900-day siege without surrendering. That was St. Petersburg. In 1924, after Lenin's death, the city was renamed in his honor and kept that name until 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. St. Petersburg holds many traces of both the imperial and Soviet eras. Its magnificent old architecture is the clearest testament. Once here, you won't want to take your eyes off your phone or camera, as every step reveals a building more beautiful than the last. Architecture in the city often features elegant white and brown tones stretching along its main streets. In terms of aesthetics, the city rivals Moscow and even surpasses many European capitals. Altogether, there are 42 islands and islets in the city. With a network of bridges connecting them, they form a unified whole. The city also has 55 canals and nearly 500 bridges, which is why St. Petersburg is nicknamed the Venice of Russia. Along both sides of these canals are luxurious villa-style buildings, homes of the upper class or renovated into boutique hotels. One of the city's most enchanting phenomena is the White Nights. This isn't the kind of wild nightlife you'd find in places like Thailand, but rather a natural wonder that occurs in areas near the Arctic Circle during summer. The sun never fully sets, leaving the sky bright all night long. Daylight can last up to 19 hours. The sun rises at 3 a.m. and sets around 11 p.m. Even at midnight, the sky glows. Being the city closest to the Arctic Circle, St. Petersburg experiences this phenomenon more vividly than even Sweden or Norway. Russians celebrate this event with a series of festivals, musical performances, light shows, and art events, turning the city into an international entertainment hub during summer. However, if you're sensitive to light while sleeping or dislike noisy environments, St. Petersburg's summer might be a bit overwhelming. But it's the magic of the White Nights that draws millions of visitors to the city each year. Nevsky Prospect, the heart of St. Petersburg, is a historic street that's spotless and free of litter. It's the most prominent and well-preserved area. Every building here tells its own story, making the city come alive with memories. The streets are always bustling, full of cars and pedestrians. What makes the visual experience so amazing isn't just the clean roads and stunning architecture, but also the beautiful people who look like they stepped out of a movie scene. People stroll around, gather with friends at cafes or parks, always lively and full of energy. Just like in Moscow, locals here are confident in their appearance. It's rare to see someone alone. They love socializing and making friends. Staying home isn't their style, After work, they dive into a vibrant lifestyle with busy schedules and late-night hangouts. At night, luxury cars fill the streets as Russia's wealthy flaunt their high-end vehicles. As one of Russia's two most livable cities, St. Petersburg has a huge housing demand from the country's 145 million citizens. This demand has pushed rental prices to match those in Moscow. On Russian real estate websites, it's nearly impossible to find an apartment under 75,000 rubles a month, equivalent to $750, $1,500 for a two-bedroom place. If that seems too steep, smaller towns on the outskirts like Kudu are more budget-friendly options. Even so, many residents still struggle to make ends meet. Some households have 2-3 people working just to cover rent and living expenses. They may look stylish, but not everyone lives in luxury. To live comfortably here, an average family needs a minimum income of around $3,300 a month. Russians often have their eyes glued to their phones, texting or browsing online for hours. Parks are crowded in the evenings and on weekends, showing how much locals enjoy life. St. Petersburg has plenty of parks and green spaces, perfect for quality time with loved ones. Street music and art make the city even more vibrant. The city is known as an artistic center, with hundreds of museums and historical sites. Notable places include the Hermitage Museum, Kazan Cathedral, and Petrov Palace. Among them, Kazan Cathedral stands out with its crescent-shaped design and has existed since 1801. Women here are known for being highly educated, courageous, and able to pursue careers independently, breaking through traditional gender stereotypes. As for transportation, locals primarily use the metro and buses, with most routes starting from Nevsky Prospect. The metro system here is not just a mode of transport, but also a tourist attraction. The stations are beautifully constructed, a remarkable achievement in Russian architecture. There are 54 metro stations that serve every part of the city. Traveling by train from Moscow to St. Petersburg takes about 5 hours. Additionally, if you arrive via a cruise ship, you can enter the city visa-free for up to 72 hours. Despite its proximity to Europe, Russian is still the primary language here, though residents generally have better foreign language skills than in other parts of the country. If you're unfamiliar with the Cyrillic alphabet, it may take some time to get used to reading signs, especially since most signage in unofficial places is in Russian. One thing that might disappoint you when living here is the rain. The sky is often cloudy, but overall, St. Petersburg is one of Russia's most dynamic, charming, and livable cities. Alongside Moscow, Russia has many other fascinating destinations like Yekaterinburg, Kazan, Nizhny Novgorod, which we'll explore in upcoming videos. See you soon.